Hello and welcome to Evolution IAS. In our last three lectures, we had completed the reports, indices and ranks topics of the month of March and April 2020. And in this lecture, we are going to deal with the same topics of the month of May, the complete month of May. The same topics will be dealt with. So this lecture might be a bit longer. So have patience and listen to me. So these are the topics we are going to do today. First is Lost at Home report by UNICEF, United Nations. Second is impact of energy efficiency measures for the year 2018 and 2019 report. This report is coming by Indian Government Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the department. Then comes Research and Development Statistics and Indicators 1920 report. This is related to science and technology. And then iCube report, Global Nutrition report. And the last one will be a little longer topic, a State of the World's Forest report 2020, which is very important. So have patience and listen to the whole lecture. So our first topic is UNICEF's Lost at Home report. As the name suggests only, this report is released by UNICEF. UNICEF is United Nations Children's Fund. I will be explaining you the whole thing, UNICEF, in the next slide, so don't worry. So this report is about what? This report deals with the risk and challenges which internally displaced children face and the urgent actions needed for their rehabilitation and protection. Again, I will explain what is internal displacement. Displacement which is happening inside a country's boundary itself, not internationally, that is called internal displacement. And the problem is that in this internally displaced section of people, there are huge number of children. I already told you that there are huge number of children and senior citizens also. That creates a problem because these are vulnerable sections of the society. So first of all, see the overall data. 33 million new displacements were recorded in 2019. In 2019, 33 million new displacements were recorded, not the historical ones, the new fresh data, 33 million. And out of that, natural disasters caused the displacement of 25 million people. So you can see the major cause is natural disaster. And conflict and violence caused the displacement of 8.5 million people. Out of that 33 million, 12 million were children who were displaced internally in the country inside. And out of that 12 million new displacement of the children in 2019, conflict and violence caused the displacement of 3.8 million and 8.2 million were displaced because of natural disasters. So again, for the children also, the natural disasters and natural calamities are the major cause of internal displacement. So what is the problem? The problem is that internally displaced children face the issues of child labor, child marriage, child trafficking, and also it disrupts their education. The same thing explained through an infographic. 33 million overall displacement in the year of 2019, and out of that, natural disasters caused the displacement of 25 million people, and conflict and violence was responsible for 8.5 million new displacement, and out of that 33 million, 12 million were children. Also, if we look about the historical data present today, not talking about 2019 only, आज तक 2019 तक कितना डिस्प्लेसमेंट हुआ इंटरनल, तो उसमें देखिए टोटल जो है 46 million people were displaced and they are living in country's boundary because of conflict and violence at the end of 2019. Because of conflict and violence, I'm telling that 46 million people are internally displaced till now at the end of the year of 2019, and among them 19 million children are displaced due to conflict and violence. So as we can see, natural disasters have caused the more displacement. More number of displacement is caused by natural disaster, and conflict and violence is also obviously responsible, but major cause is natural disaster. When we talk about regions which were more responsible for new displacement, almost 10 million new displacements in 2019 were recorded in East Asia and the Pacific. That makes overall 39% of the new displacements. And also same number was present in South Asia also. So your countries region South Asia and East Asia and Pacific, they cause the major number of displacement in the world out of 10 million total. Not out of 9.5 million in South Asia and 10 million in East Asia and Pacific. So we can say that the region which was more responsible for internal displacement at the first position was East Asia and Pacific, that caused internal displacement of 10 million people, and the second region is 9.5 million, that is South Asia. Now the report also relates the situation to coronavirus infection. It says that when the people are internally displaced, then how can we think about the social distancing? They are living in a refugee camp made for especially for them, and obviously that has a problem of congestion, overcrowding. lack of adequate hygiene, health services. So physical distancing is also not possible. So this situation aggravates the situation of coronavirus infection, also the internal displacement. Okay, now when we talk about the internal displacement, especially due to conflict and violence. So because of conflict and violence, the internal displacement happened maximum in Middle East, the war zone area, and the North Africa, again the war zone area and the poverty area, and also the sub-Saharan Africa. These all countries are affected by violence, terrorism, and all those uprisings which destabilize the government. Now talk about India and its neighbors in UNICEF's Lost at Home report. India, your country, is responsible for the highest number of new internal displacements caused by conflict, violence, and natural disasters. 5 million people in India were added in new displacement in 2019, which is highest in the world. And then second in the world is followed by India. This is Philippines, Bangladesh, and China. In natural disasters, we had the condition of dangerous storm and floods. That's why the people were displaced in our country. So now let's talk about the report releasing authority, that is UNICEF. UNICEF is United Nations Children's Fund, that is the full form. It is a special program of United Nations and it is devoted to aiding the national effort of the other countries to improve health, nutrition, education, and general welfare of the children only. UNICEF is guided by a convention. That convention is Convention on the Rights of Child 1989. That convention came in United Nations in 1989. And that convention only guides the UNICEF mandate. What is the governance body of UNICEF? Governance body of UNICEF is an executive board, and that executive board has 36 members and they are elected for a term of 3 years. 36 members, so India can also be member sometime. That election is done for 3 years. The membership is for 3 years, and that election is done by the United Nations Economic and Social Council, that is ECOSOC. I already had told you about the 6 principal organization of the United Nations, and one of that was ECOSOC. So that ECOSOC elects the members of the governing body, that is executive board of UNICEF, for a period of 3 years, and there are 36 members present in it. And UNICEF is funded exclusively by voluntary contributions of the people, voluntary contribution, अपने मन से, स्वेच्छा से, and the national committees collectively raise fund. Around 1/3 of the UNICEF's annual income comes from voluntary contribution and national committees. Now our next topic is impact of energy efficiency measures for the year 2018-19 report. See, this report is released by your Government of India. Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy has a department. That thing is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Bureau of Energy Efficiency collaborates with any third party. This time it was agency PricewaterhouseCoopers Limited, PwC Limited. See, this report is very important. This is a kind of assessment report. Actually, India had promised that it will reduce its pollution and carbon emission through energy efficiency measures. For that, India has various programs, for example, Ujala. So now this report tries to assess that whatever program Government of India came with, how much effective they are in reducing the carbon emission. That is the purpose of this report. So the report is released by Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy, and the report name is Impact of Energy Efficiency Measures. See, the name says all. Impact of Energy Efficiency Measures. These measures are government programs for saving the energy, and this report is coming for 2018-19. Remember, not 19-20. The report is coming for 18-19, but this report came in May 2020. And the agency involved is, the report was prepared by a third party agency, that is PricewaterhouseCoopers Limited, which was engaged by Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And where is this Bureau of Energy Efficiency? Bureau of Energy Efficiency is present in Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy. That's why BEE collaborated with agency PwC Limited to release this report. And the methodology, दिस रिपोर्ट कंपेयर्स द एस्टिमेटेड गवर्नमेंट ने माना था, एस्टिमेट किया था कि ये स्कीम लेकर आएंगे हम एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी के लिए, तो इतनी एनर्जी जो है सेव होगी. सो दैट इज आवर एस्टिमेशन, and then report compares it with the actual energy consumption due to various energy efficiency schemes of the government, and then we can know how much gap we have between estimation and actual observation. So how do we do that? This report will assess 2 points. Suppose here the scheme is implemented in a region and here the scheme is not implemented. So now it will compare these 2 places and come to know that how much energy efficiency we have brought about by our government schemes. And the objective is to evaluate the performance and impact of all the key energy efficiency programs which are running in India in terms of one component is total energy saved and the other component is related reduction in the CO2 emission because of this total energy saved. So our main focus is actually CO2 emission हमने कितना कम किया है, लेकिन एनर्जी सेव करेंगे तभी तो CO2 emission भी कम होगा. Now the report findings. First of all, we will see electricity saving, then we will see energy saving, then we will see the emission reduction, and we will also come to know about some flagship programs of the Indian government which deal with energy efficiency in Indian sectors. So electricity saving. We have implemented various energy efficiency scheme for electricity, and with that we have saved 113 billion units of electricity in 1819. That means 9.39% of the net electricity consumption. Can you see that? Almost 10% of the electricity we have saved with the government schemes. What about energy saving overall? See, electricity is not always the all energy. Okay, energy has, for example, biofuel, for example, petroleum. That is not electricity, right? So electricity is different. And now coming about the energy saving, that is total energy saving. The total energy saving achieved in 1819 is 23 million tons of oil equivalent, which is overall 2.69% of the total primary energy supplied, and that means primary energy supply is 879 million ton of oil equivalent, and out of that we have saved 23 million ton of oil equivalent. So that is the thing we have saved. Now coming to the emission reduction, which is the most important one, the carbon dioxide emission reduction. When the last report came, we had saved 108 million tons of CO2 emission. And in this report of 1819, we come to know that we have saved 151 million tons of CO2 emissions. So we are improving. What are our flagship programs regarding this? This year the study has identified the following flagship programs: Perform, Achieve and Trade Scheme, PAT scheme in the industries for carbon emission reduction, a standard and labeling program. For example, we have 5-star ACs, 3-star ACs for energy efficiency, Ujala program, then municipal demand side management program also. In a municipality, we have municipal demand side management program also. So these are our flagship programs related to energy efficiency in the Indian sectors. So as I told you that Bureau of Energy Efficiency collaborates with a third party agency and releases this report. So what is BEE? See, this body was made by an act, that is Energy Conservation Act 2001 under the Ministry of Power, Government of India. So that is why this body is a statutory body. Remember that BEE was made by an act, so that is a statutory body. It assists in developing policies and strategies within the primary objective of the reducing energy intensity of the Indian economy. Do you know we have this various kinds of bulbs which are saving energy for the street light, also for the home light, domestic light also. That is also an initiative of BEE. It provided us with subsidized bulbs which will save energy in domestic sector and the street light and everything. As I told you, the background was that India had some promises, commitments in Paris COP21 program which came in 2015. According to that, India has to bring energy efficiency in its country. That's why we are doing this. This report is assessment for that. India ने प्लेस ये लिया था कि इन कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टी COP21 में, जो कि UNFCCC के अंदर हुआ था, कि इंडिया विल bring down its energy intensity of its economy by 33 to 35% compared to 2005 levels. Compared to 2005 levels, by 2030 we will achieve 33 to 35% energy intensity reduction. Then comes the term, what is energy intensity? It is the amount of energy required to produce 1 unit of GDP. 1 unit of GDP, because GDP will happen only when you are consuming energy and spending energy. That's why, so amount of energy required to produce 1 unit of GDP, that is called energy intensity. So we have to bring this down by 33 to 35% according to the 2005 level by the year of 2030. अगर किसी का एनर्जी इंटेंसिटी लो है तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि विथ लेस एनर्जी वी विल प्रोड्यूस मोर जीडीपी, और अगर किसी कंट्री का एनर्जी इंटेंसिटी हाई है तो उसका क्या मतलब है, विथ मोर एनर्जी वी विल कन्वर्ट टू द सेम जीडीपी बट विथ spending more energy. So what we should have? We should have low energy intensity so that with less energy we can produce more GDP. So what is our overall assessment? See, we are in a achievement category. With the energy efficiency initiatives, India has already reduced the energy intensity of its economy by 20% compared to 2005 level. So we had to reduce it by 33 to 35% by 2030, and by 2019 we have already reduced it by 20% compared to 2005 level. So that is a very good progress we have made. So Ministry of Power released this infographic, so I would like to tell you about this. We have this chart as impact of energy efficiency measures in 2018-19. See, the greatest impact has come in industry sector. Here we have reduced 11 million tons of oil equivalent. And the second is your domestic power saving only. Here we have reduced by 7.91 million ton oil equivalent. Other things you don't want to remember, don't know, no need to know. This is energy saving across various sectors. Okay, other sectors are municipal and agriculture, transport and commercial building and all. Our next report is Research and Development of Statistics and Indicators 2019-2020 report. एक बॉडी है नेशनल साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन NSTMIS, National Science and Technology Management Information System. That body conducted a survey in 2018, and based on that we released this Research and Development of Statistics and Indicators report 1920. This report will help us in evidence-based policy making and planning in higher education, research and development activities and support, intellectual property protection, developing intellectual property environment in our country which is not present, and then industrial competitiveness also can be improved from the learning of this report. Because this report talks about research and development. So intellectual property, research and development activity, higher education and industrial competitiveness, everything can be improved. So what are the key findings? The most important key finding is that in India still we have government as the main driver of research and development in our country. Private sector is not much involved in research and development. That is the country's problem. And then we talk about the expenditure on research and development. See, between 2007-8 to 2017-18, our expenditure on research and development, that is called gross expenditure on research and development or GERD, in India that tripled between 2007-8 and 2017-18. India's per capita research and development expenditure has also increased 1.5 times. Also, this is a very important thing. In 2000 to 2001, we had only 13% women in research and development projects, but in 2016-17, we have 24% women in research and development projects. That is a very significant improvement in gender equality. So very important for your fact and for your essay and for your mains GS answers also, that how much India spends on research and development. India spends 0.7, not even 1%, 0.7% of its GDP on research and development, but in 2017-18 it has improved a bit. But in this report we have to study about 17-18 data only. So India spends 0.7% of its GDP on research and development, while other BRICS nations, see, Brazil 1.3%, Russia 1.1%, China 2.1%. That is why they are far ahead of us in research and development, and South Africa 0.8%. That is also higher than 0.7% of our country. Now this report also talks about researchers and scientific publications. There is a very positive development which happened after 2000. Since 2000, our per million researchers number that has doubled. Since 2000, in 20 years almost, or 18 years, researchers per million population has doubled in India. Overall in the world, India is ranked at third position when we talk about the number of PhD awarded in science and engineering. So what is first country having the PhD in science and engineering is USA, second in China, and the third country having the largest number of PhD awardee in science and engineering, that is India. What about publications? We talked about researchers. What about publications? India is in top 3 among different countries having the large number of publications in science and engineering. What about patent filing, which is very important? India is ranked at 9th position. I told you already that intellectual property is very bad situation in India. So India is ranked at 9th position in terms of resident patent filing activity in the world. What is more sad? During 2017-18, out of total patents filed in India, 32% only were filed by the Indian resident. Other patents came from outside in India. 32% patents only in the India were filed by resident Indians. Major sectors for the patents are mechanical, chemical, computer, electronics and communication. India's patent office also has got a rank from the WIPO. WIPO is World Intellectual Property Organization that deals with intellectual property protection in different countries. So WIPO says that India's patent office is at 7th position among top 10 patent filing offices in the world. Very bad. So I told you that the survey was done by National Science and Technology Management Information. What is that? See, the National Science and Technology Management Information System, or NST-MIS, is a division of the Department of Science and Technology, DST. And what is DST? DST is a department of Ministry of Science and Technology. Other department is Department of Biotechnology. And there is one more department. Can you comment and tell me? Our next report is very interesting, iCube report. What is that? See, there is a company called Kantar or Kantar, whatever it is. Kantar company is the world's leading data, insights and consulting company. It has released a report, iCube 2019, and that report deals with digital adoption and usage trends in India. That is digital connectivity, internet usage, 4G usage, 3G usage, mobile phone usage, a smartphone usage. Those are the things which this report deals with, and it talks about how much India is adopting its digital revolution, whether it's rural or urban areas. So Kantar is a company releasing this report especially for India, iCube report. तो ये कंतार अपनी रिपोर्ट में देखता क्या है? देखिए, ये एक एनुअल ट्रैकिंग स्टडी है. इट विल सी द अडॉप्शन ऑफ डिजिटल थिंग्स इन demography wise also and the device wise also. For example, the people using a smartphone or not, and the demography means the rural India or the urban India, which one is having the more growth in digital revolution, इंटरनेट यूज़ हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. ये सारी चीज़ें जो है iCube रिपोर्ट देखता है, डेमोग्राफी वाइज भी देखता है एंड डिवाइस वाइज भी देखता है. सो व्हाट आर द की फाइंडिंग्स ऑफ दिस रिपोर्ट, iCube रिपोर्ट बाय कंतार? In our country today we have 574 million number of monthly active internet users, and that is an annual growth of 24%, annual growth of 24% compared to the last year, indicating an overall penetration of 41%. That means 41% people of India are using internet. That number is 574 million, and according to the previous year data we have the growth 24% in internet usage on a monthly active internet users. We can't say that somebody using internet for one day in 365 days will be called an active internet user. So we have to know about the monthly active internet users which are active at least for the 12 days in a year. That's why monthly active internet users, and that registered an annual growth of 24%. Total number is 574 million. That means 41% of the Indian population. The report projects that 11% growth for the year of 2020. Next year we will see 11% growth in internet users. See, the baseline in increasing, so that's why the growth will reduce now. 11% growth for 2020, and that will mean that we will have 639 million monthly active internet users in India in the next year. And very obviously all monthly active internet users use a mobile phone as one of the devices. There is nobody, I think, who has a laptop and doesn't have a mobile. So at least one of the devices will be mobile phone for all the monthly users. And next thing, very obvious, that 84% of the users of internet in our country are using it for entertainment purposes. You know that, songs and all. In our school going children segment, in the age group of 15 years or below, 38% children have started using internet. That is a very promising growth. So how this digital revolution is coming? The greatest factor is coming from rural India, because rural India has registered a 45% growth in the monthly active internet users in 2019. So rural India is the main responsible factor for the internet revolution in India. 45% growth in rural India, because the baseline is small. Many people were not having internet. Now they are having because of Jio and Airtel price reduction. That's why we are seeing a very huge growth in rural population about the internet usage, that is 45%. The next two reports, Global Nutrition Report and State of the World's Forest Report 2020, these are major topics, so I think I will be completing them in next lecture. And don't worry, if the time permits, in the next lecture I will add some extra topics so that the lecture is completed in 23 to 25 minutes in the next lecture also. So see you in the next lecture. Take care. Bye bye.